The day started like any other on Earth. People went to work, children played in parks, and life moved on as usual. But high above, in the dark emptiness of space, something was coming. Something that would change everything. It began with a strange light in the sky. At first, people thought it was just a bright star, or maybe a planet. But it grew bigger and brighter with each passing hour. Soon, it was clear that this was no ordinary celestial body. As night fell across the globe, the light became impossible to ignore. It split into many smaller lights, each one as bright as the full moon. People came out of their homes, pointing and staring at the sky in wonder and fear. Then the lights began to move. They descended through the atmosphere, revealing their true forms. They were ships, alien ships, huge, sleek vessels that dwarfed even the largest human aircraft carriers. Their metallic surfaces gleamed in the moonlight as they took up positions around the planet. Panic spread like wildfire. Emergency sirens wailed in cities across the world. Military bases scrambled their jets, but the pilots reported that their weapon systems mysteriously failed whenever they got close to the alien ships. As dawn broke, a message was broadcast on every radio frequency, every TV channel, and every computer screen. People of Earth, we are the Zarkonian Empire. Your planet is now under our control. Resistance is futile. We possess weapons beyond your comprehension. Surrender now, and you may live as our subjects. Resist and face annihilation. The voice was deep and gravelly, with an otherworldly accent that sent chills down the spines of all who heard it. It belonged to Zaxthor, the supreme commander of the Zarkonian invasion fleet. World leaders scrambled to respond. Emergency meetings were called. The United Nations convened a special session, but no one knew what to do. How could they fight an enemy so advanced? As the day wore on, Zaxthor grew impatient. He decided to demonstrate his power. A beam of energy shot out from his flagship, striking the moon. In an instant, a crater the size of Texas appeared on the lunar surface. The message was clear. The aliens could destroy Earth just as easily. Zaxthor's face appeared on screens worldwide. He was a fearsome sight. His skin was a pale blue, with glowing red eyes and razor-sharp teeth. Tentacles writhed around his head like a living crown. "Behold, humans," he growled. "This is but a fraction of our power. You have one Earth day to surrender. If you do not, we will unleash our full arsenal upon your world." The threat hung in the air like a dark cloud. People huddled in their homes, praying for a miracle. Scientists worked frantically to understand the alien technology. Military strategists drew up desperate plans, knowing they were hopelessly outmatched. In Washington, D.C., the President of the United States sat in the Oval Office, head in hands. His advisors argued around him, each proposing a different course of action. Some wanted to fight, others to surrender. None of their ideas seemed good enough. Suddenly, a young woman burst into the room. She was Major Sarah Chen, a brilliant military strategist known for thinking outside the box. Her eyes were bright with excitement. "Mr. President," she said, breathless, "I have an idea. It's crazy, but it might just work." The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Sarah. The president looked up, a glimmer of hope in his tired eyes. "What is it, Major?" he asked. Sarah took a deep breath. "Sir, the aliens think they're dealing with primitive beings. They expect us to either surrender or fight conventionally. But what if we did something they could never predict? What if we unleashed our most dangerous beast?" The president's brow furrowed. "Beast? What are you talking about?" Sarah's eyes twinkled. "Trust me, sir. It's not what you think. But if we play our cards right, it might just save the world." As the clock ticked down to Zaxthor's deadline, humanity stood on the brink. Would Sarah's mysterious plan work? Or was this the end of human civilization as they knew it? The fate of the world hung in the balance, with only hours left to decide. The Oval Office was silent. All eyes were on Major Sarah Chen. The young officer stood tall, her face serious but her eyes bright with determination. "Major," the president said, breaking the silence, "you mentioned a beast. What exactly do you mean?" Sarah took a deep breath. "Sir, it's not a literal beast. It's a project. Something we've been working on in secret for years. Something that could change everything." The room erupted in whispers. The Secretary of Defense leaned forward. "I've never heard of any such project," he said, his voice sharp with suspicion. Sarah nodded. "That's because it was classified above top secret, sir. Only a handful of people knew about it. Until now." The president raised his hand, silencing the room. "Go on, Major. We're listening." Sarah pulled out a small device and projected a hologram in the center of the room. It showed a strange, dog-like creature. But this was no ordinary dog. Its body seemed to shimmer and change, as if it couldn't decide on a single form. "This," Sarah said, "is Project Morpheus. It's a genetically engineered life form. Part dog, part... well, we're not entirely sure. Its DNA is unlike anything we've ever seen before." The chief of staff scoffed. "You want to fight alien invaders with a dog?" Sarah's eyes flashed. "Not just any dog, sir. Morpheus has abilities we're only beginning to understand. It can change its size and shape at will. It has intelligence that rivals or even surpasses human levels. And most importantly, it can interface with and control technology in ways we can't explain." The room fell silent again as the implications sank in. The president leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "And you think this, Morpheus, can help us against the aliens?" Sarah nodded. "I do, sir. The aliens expect us to either surrender or fight with conventional weapons. They won't be prepared for something like Morpheus." The Secretary of State spoke up. "But Major, even if what you say is true, how do we know this creature will obey us? How do we know it won't turn against us?" Sarah's face softened. "Because, sir, Morpheus isn't just a weapon or a tool. It's a living, feeling being. And it's been raised with one purpose: to protect humanity." The president stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the alien ships hovering ominously in the sky. He turned back to the room. "What's your plan, Major?" Sarah straightened up. "We send me and Morpheus to the alien mothership. We tell them we're surrendering and bringing our most dangerous weapon as a peace offering. Once we're on board, we unleash Morpheus." The room erupted in protests. "It's too dangerous. We can't risk our best weapon. What if the aliens kill you on sight?" The president raised his hand again, silencing the room. He looked at Sarah, his eyes searching. "Major, you understand what you're proposing. If this fails, you'll likely die, and Earth will lose its last hope." Sarah nodded solemnly. "I understand, sir. But I believe in Morpheus, and I believe this is our best chance." The president was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. "All right, Major. We'll do it your way. But I want to see this Morpheus for myself before we proceed." Sarah smiled for the first time since entering the room. "Of course, sir. I think you'll be impressed." As they prepared to leave for the secret facility, the alien commander's face appeared on screens around the world again. "Humans," Zaxthor growled. "Your time is running out. In 1 hour, we will begin the annihilation of your cities. Surrender now or face extinction." The president looked at Sarah. "I hope you're right about this, Major. For all our sakes." Sarah nodded, her face set with determination. "Trust me, sir. When Zaxthor says, 'Unleash the beast,' he has no idea what he's asking for." As they hurried to a waiting helicopter, Sarah couldn't help but smile. Soon, the aliens would learn that humanity was far more than they appeared, and a small, furry creature would teach them a lesson they'd never forget. The fate of the world now rested on an impossible plan and an even more impossible creature. But as they flew towards the secret facility, Sarah felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this crazy idea would work. and humanity would show the universe why you should never underestimate Earth. The helicopter touched down in a clearing surrounded by dense forest. As the blade slowed, Sarah Chen and the president stepped out, followed by a small group of advisors and security personnel. Before them stood what appeared to be an ordinary mountain. Sarah approached a seemingly random rock and pressed her hand against it. A hidden scanner hummed to life, and suddenly, the mountain began to move. A section of rock slid away, revealing a high-tech entrance. "Welcome to Project Morpheus, Mr. President," Sarah said, leading the group inside. They descended in a sleek elevator, dropping deep underground. When the doors opened, they found themselves in a vast, state-of-the-art facility. Scientists in white lab coats hurried about, monitoring screens filled with complex data. Dr. Emma Reeves, the lead scientist, greeted them. "Major Chen, Mr. President, we've been expecting you." The president looked around, clearly impressed. "How long has this been here?" "Almost a decade, sir," Dr. Reeves replied. "We've been working in secret, pushing the boundaries of genetic engineering and artificial intelligence." They walked through the facility, passing rooms filled with strange equipment and glowing screens. Finally, they reached a large, circular chamber. In the center was a small containment unit, about the size of a dog crate. "Is that?" the president started to ask. Sarah nodded. "Yes, sir. That's Morpheus." Dr. Reeves tapped a few commands on a nearby console. The front of the containment unit became transparent, revealing what was inside. There, curled up and sleeping peacefully, was a puppy. It looked like a mix between a golden retriever and a husky, with soft golden fur and striking blue eyes. As they watched, the puppy yawned and stretched, then looked up at them curiously. The president blinked in surprise. "That's your secret weapon, a puppy?" Sarah smiled. "Looks can be deceiving, sir. Morpheus, come here, boy." The puppy's ears perked up at Sarah's voice. It stood up, wagging its tail, and then it changed. In the blink of an eye, the small puppy grew to the size of a large wolf. Its fur shimmered, taking on a metallic sheen. The cute blue eyes now glowed with an otherworldly intelligence. Morpheus stepped out of the containment unit, its paws making no sound on the metal floor. It approached the group, who instinctively stepped back. But when it reached Sarah, it simply sat down and nuzzled her hand affectionately. "Good boy," Sarah said, scratching behind its ears. Morpheus's tail wagged, thumping against the floor with enough force to make the nearby equipment rattle. The president stared in amazement. Incredible. But how? Dr. Reeves stepped forward. "Morpheus is the result of combining cutting-edge genetic engineering with advanced AI. We use DNA from various Earth species, but also incorporated. Well, sir, we're not entirely sure. During one of our experiments, we detected a strange energy signature. When we incorporated it into Morpheus's genetic code, this was the result." "And you're sure it's safe?" the president asked, eyeing Morpheus warily. Sarah nodded. "Absolutely, sir. Morpheus has been raised from birth to protect humanity. It's not just intelligent. It's empathetic, loyal, and incredibly gentle, unless threatened." As if to demonstrate, Morpheus shrunk back down to puppy size and rolled over, asking for a belly rub. Sarah obliged, and the puppy's leg thumped happily against the floor. The president chuckled despite himself. "I have to admit, it's not what I expected. But will it be enough against the aliens?" Sarah's face grew serious. "Sir, Morpheus is more than just strong or smart. It can interface with and control technology in ways we don't fully understand. We believe it can take control of the alien ships." Just then, an alarm blared through the facility. A scientist rushed in. "Major Chen, the aliens have started their attack. They're targeting major cities." The president's face paled. "We're out of time." Sarah stood up, Morpheus alert at her side. "Then we need to move now. Mr. President, I need your authorization to proceed with the plan." The president looked at Sarah, then at Morpheus, who was once again growing to its larger form. He took a deep breath and nodded. "Do it, Major, and may God help us all." Sarah saluted, then turned to Morpheus. "Ready for a space adventure, boy?" Morpheus let out a low, determined growl. Its body shimmered, taking on a sleek, almost metallic appearance. It looked ready for anything. As they hurried to prepare for their mission, Sarah couldn't help but smile. The aliens thought they were dealing with primitive beings. They had no idea what was coming. It was time to show the universe what humanity and their unexpected ally were truly capable of. The small spacecraft rose from Earth's surface, carrying Major Sarah Chen and Morpheus towards the massive alien mothership. Sarah sat in the pilot's seat, her hands steady on the controls despite the gravity of their mission. Beside her, Morpheus sat in his puppy form, looking out the window with curious eyes. As they approached the alien ship, Sarah took a deep breath. "Remember the plan, Morpheus. Stay small and cute until I give the signal." Morpheus wagged his tail in response, letting out a soft, affirmative bark. A beam of light suddenly engulfed their ship, pulling them towards the alien vessel. Sarah's hands tightened on the controls, but she didn't resist. This was part of the plan. Their ship was drawn into a vast hangar bay. As the doors closed behind them, Sarah saw dozens of strange alien craft and hundreds of Zarkonian soldiers. They were tall, blue-skinned creatures with multiple arms and glowing red eyes. The moment their ship touched down, they were surrounded. Sarah raised her hand slowly and opened the hatch. "We come in peace," she called out. "We wish to speak with Commander Zaxthor." The aliens chittered among themselves, their strange language sounding like a mix of clicks and whistles. Finally, one stepped forward, pointing a weapon at Sarah. "Follow," it said in broken English. Sarah nodded, picking up Morpheus and cradling him in her arms. The puppy played his part perfectly, looking around with wide, innocent eyes and occasionally letting out a small, playful yip. They were led through winding corridors, passing by technology that made even Sarah's eyes widen in wonder. Finally, they reached a large, circular room. At its center stood Commander Zaxthor, his tentacles writhing around his head like a living crown. "So," Zaxthor's voice boomed, "the humans send a lone female and a pet. This is your response to our ultimatum." Sarah stepped forward, her chin held high. "Commander Zaxthor, I am Major Sarah Chen of Earth's Defense Forces. I come bearing a message from our leaders." Zaxthor's eyes narrowed. "Speak, human." "We have considered your demands," Sarah said, her voice steady, "and we have decided to offer you our most prized possession as a gesture of goodwill." Zaxthor laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "And what could you possibly offer us that we cannot simply take?" Sarah held out Morpheus. "This, Commander, our most advanced creation, a being of unparalleled intelligence and capability." The room fell silent. Then suddenly, the alien soldiers burst into laughter. Even Zaxthor's tentacles seemed to twitch in amusement. "You jest, human," Zaxthor said, his voice dripping with disdain. "You offer us a mere animal, a fuzzy plaything." Sarah's face remained impassive. "I assure you, Commander, this is no ordinary creature. Would you like a demonstration?" Zaxthor waved a hand dismissively. "Very well. Amuse us, human. Show us what your advanced creation can do." Sarah set Morpheus down on the floor. The puppy looked up at her, tail wagging. She nodded almost imperceptibly. "Morpheus," Sarah said clearly, "execute Protocol Alpha." For a moment, nothing happened. The aliens looked at each other, confusion and mockery in their eyes. Then suddenly, Morpheus began to change. The cute puppy grew rapidly, its fur taking on a metallic sheen. In seconds, it had transformed into a large, wolf-like creature with glowing blue eyes. The alien soldiers stepped back in shock, raising their weapons. But Morpheus wasn't done. Its body continued to shift and change, growing larger and more complex. Mechanical components seemed to emerge from its skin, integrating seamlessly with its organic form. Within moments, Morpheus had become a towering biomechanical marvel that dwarfed even the tallest Zarkonian. The room erupted into chaos. Alien soldiers fired their weapons, but the energy blasts simply absorbed into Morpheus's shimmering form. Zaxthor stumbled back, his tentacles flailing in panic. "What is this?" he roared. "What manner of deception is this?" Sarah smiled, placing a hand on Morpheus's leg. The creature lowered its massive head, nuzzling her gently. "This, Commander, is humanity's response to your ultimatum. You asked us to unleash our beast. Well, here it is." Morpheus let out a low, rumbling growl that shook the entire room, its glowing eyes fixed on Zaxthor, who for the first time looked truly afraid. "Now then," Sarah said, her voice calm but filled with authority, "I think it's time we renegotiated the terms of our relationship. Don't you agree, Commander?" As Zaxthor stared in stunned silence at the impossible creature before him, one thing became crystal clear. He had severely underestimated the humans, and that mistake might just cost him everything. The alien command center was in chaos. Zarkonian soldiers scrambled for cover, their weapons trained on the towering form of Morpheus. Commander Zaxthor, his tentacles writhing in agitation, barked orders in his native language. Sarah Chen stood calmly beside Morpheus, her hand resting on its metallic fur. She watched as the alien commander's composure crumbled, replaced by a mix of fear and anger. "What trickery is this?" Zaxthor demanded, his voice wavering slightly. "No primitive species could create such a being." Sarah smiled. "Perhaps it's time you reconsidered your definition of primitive, Commander." Morpheus let out a low growl, its glowing blue eyes scanning the room. Suddenly, its gaze fixed on a bank of alien computers. Without warning, tendrils of energy shot from Morpheus's body, connecting with the alien technology. The effect was immediate and startling. Screens flickered to life, displaying streams of data in human language. Alien weapons powered down, becoming useless in the hands of the panicked soldiers. The ship's engines, which had been humming steadily in the background, fell silent. Zaxthor's eyes widened in horror. "What is it doing? Stop this at once." Sarah's smile widened. "Morpheus isn't just a shapeshifter, Commander. It's also the most advanced AI we've ever created, and right now, it's interfacing with your systems." As if to demonstrate, Morpheus turned its head towards a large view screen. The screen came to life, showing images of Earth's cities. The alien weapons that had been poised to attack were now powered down, harmless. "Your invasion force has been neutralized," Sarah said calmly. "Morpheus has taken control of all your ships." Zaxthor's face contorted with rage. He lunged forward, his clawed hand reaching for Sarah's throat. But before he could touch her, Morpheus moved with incredible speed. A force field sprang up around Sarah, and Zaxthor found himself suspended in midair, held by an invisible force. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," Sarah said, her voice steel. "Morpheus is very protective." As if to emphasize her point, Morpheus let out another growl, this one deeper and more menacing. The alien soldiers cowered, dropping their useless weapons. Sarah stepped forward, addressing the aliens. "Let me be clear. We don't want war. We never did. But we will defend ourselves if threatened. Morpheus is just one example of what we're capable of." She turned to Zaxthor, still suspended in the air. "So, Commander, what's it going to be? Peace or conflict?" For a long moment, Zaxthor said nothing. Then, slowly, the fight seemed to drain out of him. "Release me," he said quietly. We will talk." Sarah nodded to Morpheus, and Zaxthor was gently lowered to the ground. The alien commander straightened his posture, trying to regain some dignity. "How?" he asked, his voice a mix of awe and defeat. "How did you create such a being?" Sarah patted Morpheus's side affectionately. "It's a long story. But the short version is this. Morpheus is the result of combining our most advanced technology with something unexpected we found. Something not from Earth. Zaxthor's eyes widened. You've encountered other species before. Not directly, Sarah explained. But we discovered something. An energy signature, a piece of technology. We're not sure. But when we incorporated it into Morpheus, this was the result. As they spoke, Morpheus began to shrink. Its metallic components seemed to melt away, fur softening and eyes losing their otherworldly glow. Within moments, it had returned to its puppy form. It sat at Sarah's feet, tail wagging, looking for all the world like an ordinary cute dog. The transformation left the alien stunned. Zaxthor stared at the puppy, then at Sarah, then back at the puppy. "Impossible," he muttered. Sarah knelt down, scratching Morpheus behind the ears. The puppy's leg thumped happily against the floor. Never underestimate the power of the unexpected, Commander. It's a lesson humanity has learned well over the years. She stood up, facing Zaxthor with renewed determination. "Now shall we discuss the terms of your immediate withdrawal from Earth space, and perhaps, if you're open to it, the possibility of peaceful relations between our species." As Zaxthor nodded, still visibly shaken, Sarah couldn't help but smile. The fate of Earth had been changed, not by weapons of mass destruction, but by the incredible potential hidden within a small furry package. Sometimes, the most powerful things come in the most unassuming forms. And as negotiations began, with Morpheus curled up contentedly at her feet, Sarah knew that humanity had just taken its first steps into a much larger universe. A universe that, thanks to their unexpected ally, they were more than ready to face. The alien mothership's command center had transformed from a place of hostility to one of uneasy peace. Sarah Chen sat at a large circular table, facing Commander Zaxthor and his top advisors. Morpheus, still in his puppy form, lay curled up at her feet, occasionally lifting his head to observe the proceedings with intelligent eyes. "So," Zaxthor began, his tentacles twitching nervously, "you claim that your Morpheus has control over our entire fleet." Sarah nodded, her face calm but determined. "That's correct, Commander. Morpheus has integrated with your systems. Your weapons are disabled, your engines are under our control, and your communication channels are open to us." One of the alien advisors leaned forward, his red eyes glowing with curiosity. "But how is this possible? Our technology is far advanced beyond anything we've seen on Earth." Sarah smiled, reaching down to scratch Morpheus behind the ears. The puppy's tail wagged happily. "That's where you made your mistake. You assumed that because our visible technology seemed primitive to you, we had nothing else to offer. You never considered that we might have capabilities beyond your understanding." Zaxthor's face darkened. "Are you saying you've been deceiving us all along? That your planet's apparent weakness was a ruse?" "Not at all," Sarah replied. "Most of humanity doesn't even know about Morpheus. We've been developing this technology in secret, preparing for the day we might need it, and it seems that day has come." As if on cue, Morpheus stood up and stretched. In the blink of an eye, he transformed from a cute puppy into his larger, more imposing form. The aliens around the table gasped and pushed back their chairs, but Sarah remained perfectly calm. Morpheus padded over to a nearby console and placed one paw on its surface. Instantly, the screens around the room came to life, showing images of Earth's cities, now safe from alien weapons. "As you can see," Sarah continued, "we have no intention of harming you or your people. We simply want peace. But we also want you to understand that we are not defenseless. We are not primitive. We are a species with untapped potential, and we are ready to take our place in the galaxy." Zaxthor stared at Morpheus, then at Sarah, his expression a mix of fear and grudging respect. "And what are your demands, human?" Sarah leaned forward, her voice firm. "First, you will immediately withdraw all your forces from Earth space. Second, you will return to your homeworld and report that Earth is not a viable target for conquest. And third, here she paused, a small smile playing on her lips, you will open diplomatic channels with us. We're interested in learning about the galaxy, and we have much to offer in return. The alien commander was quiet for a long moment, his tentacles writhing in agitation. Finally, he spoke. And if we refuse? Morpheus let out a low growl, his form shimmering slightly. The lights in the room flickered, and for a moment, the aliens' translators stopped working, filling the air with their clicking, incomprehensible language. Sarah's smile never wavered. I don't think that would be wise, Commander. Morpheus is currently the only thing preventing your ships from being permanently disabled. Cooperation is in everyone's best interest. Zaxthor slumped in his chair, defeat written across his alien features. Very well, he said, his voice low. We will comply with your terms. As the aliens began discussing the logistics of their withdrawal, Sarah felt a warmth against her leg. She looked down to see Morpheus, once again in puppy form, nuzzling her affectionately. She scratched his head, a surge of pride and affection washing over her. Good boy, she whispered. You've just changed the course of human history. Morpheus wagged his tail, looking for all the world like an ordinary, happy puppy. But Sarah knew better. In this small, unassuming package lay the key to humanity's future among the stars. As the meeting continued, plans being made for the aliens' departure and the beginnings of diplomatic relations, Sarah couldn't help but marvel at the turn of events. They had faced annihilation and instead found a new beginning. All thanks to an unexpected ally, a creature that embodied the very best of human ingenuity and the mysteries of the cosmos. The future, she realized, was going to be very interesting indeed. And humanity, with Morpheus at their side, was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead in the vast, unknown reaches of space. The massive alien fleet hung in Earth's orbit, but now, instead of a threat, it was a sight of wonder. People all over the world stood outside, gazing up at the sky as the Zarkonian ships prepared to depart. On the deck of the alien mothership, Major Sarah Chen stood beside Commander Zaxthor, watching as Earth grew smaller in the view screen. Morpheus, in his puppy form, sat at Sarah's feet, his tail wagging excitedly. I still can't believe it, Zaxthor muttered, his tentacles twitching. We came to conquer, and instead we're leaving as... What? Allies? Sarah smiled. Potential allies, Commander. We have a lot to learn about each other. As they spoke, Morpheus suddenly perked up. He trotted over to a nearby console and placed his paw on it. The ship's computers sprang to life, displays flickering with rapid streams of data. What's happening? Zaxthor asked, alarmed. It's okay, Sarah reassured him. Morpheus is just guiding your fleet out of our solar system. He's making sure all the ships follow the agreed-upon route. Zaxthor shook his head in amazement. In all my years exploring the galaxy, I've never encountered anything like your Morpheus. How can something so small contain so much power? Sarah knelt down, scratching Morpheus behind the ears. The puppy leaned into her touch, his tongue lolling out happily. Sometimes the most extraordinary things come in ordinary packages, Commander. It's a lesson humanity has learned well. As the last of the alien ships cleared Earth's solar system, a cheer went up from the command center. Humans and aliens alike celebrated the peaceful resolution of what could have been a catastrophic war. Zaxthor turned to Sarah, extending one of his 4 hands. Major Chen, on behalf of the Zarkonian Empire, I thank you for your mercy. We came as conquerors, but we leave humbled and enlightened. Sarah shook his hand, smiling. And we thank you for being open to peace, Commander. This could be the beginning of a great partnership between our species. With the formalities concluded, it was time for Sarah and Morpheus to return to Earth. As they prepared to board their shuttle, Zaxthor approached them one last time. Major, he said, his voice low, May I pet your Morpheus? Sarah looked down at Morpheus, who wagged his tail and gave a small, affirmative bark. Go ahead, Commander. He doesn't bite. Unless you're threatening Earth, that is. With surprising gentleness, Zaxthor reached out and patted Morpheus on the head. The puppy responded by licking the alien's hand, causing Zaxthor to jump back in surprise. It's a sign of affection, Sarah explained, laughing. As Sarah and Morpheus boarded their shuttle, Zaxthor called out, "We will meet again, Major Chen. And next time, we'll bring some of our own extraordinary creatures to show you." The journey back to Earth was quick and uneventful. As they entered the atmosphere, Sarah saw crowds gathered in cities around the world, cheering and celebrating. The threat was over, and humanity had not only survived but thrived. They landed at the secret facility where Morpheus had been created. The president was there to greet them, along with Dr. Reeves and a host of other officials. "Major Chen," the president said, shaking her hand vigorously, "you and Morpheus have saved humanity. How can we ever thank you?" Sarah smiled, looking down at Morpheus, who was now playfully chasing his tail. "Sir, I think Morpheus would be happy with a new chew toy and maybe some extra treats." Everyone laughed, the tension of the past few days finally breaking. As the debriefings began and plans were made for humanity's new role on the galactic stage, Sarah found a quiet moment alone with Morpheus. The puppy looked up at her with those intelligent blue eyes, and she felt a wave of affection wash over her. "You did good, buddy," she said softly. "You showed the universe that humanity is ready for whatever comes next, and you did it all while being the goodest boy in the galaxy." Morpheus barked happily, his tail wagging so hard his whole body shook. To anyone else, he might have looked like just an ordinary puppy. But Sarah knew the truth. In this small furry package was the key to humanity's future among the stars. As the sun set on this extraordinary day, Sarah Chen looked up at the sky, Morpheus cradled in her arms. The stars seemed brighter somehow, full of promise and possibility. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger than ever. And with friends like Morpheus by their side, there was no telling what they might achieve next. The universe, it seemed, was full of surprises, and humanity was ready for them all.